What's up, y'all? Hate to be the one to break it to you, but Japanese people probably don't want you to hug them. There's this idea amongst foreigners that want to come here, foreigners that want to live here, that although Japan is this paradise, this unique utopia of katsudon, famichiki, anime plushies, and other strange gooner inventions, that there's still these issues that are just pressing down on Japan society. The work culture, zangyo, overtime. People just can't be social. They want to be social so bad. They want to get out of their bubble. They want to just have fun, but they just can't do it. And so a lot of foreigners have this bleeding heart mentality that they're going to come out to Japan and they're going to fix things, by golly. If I have to get a job at a Japanese kaisha, and I have to leave at 5 p.m. exactly when I'm scheduled to leave, I'll do it. And all the Japanese people are gonna look up from their computers at that moment, notice me, pop hard boners, and realize that the American way to do it is the right way to do it, goddammit. Seriously though, in YouTube comments, TikTok comments, TikToks, even in real life conversations with other foreigners that live here, I often hear people talking about like, yeah man, like I came to Japan to change the work culture, like it's such a beautiful country, but like, it just sucks that they have to go through these issues with the work culture out here. Like, so I'm here to like tell them that like, you don't have to stay until like 7 p.m. every day. You can leave at 5. Let me tell you a story about why you're looking at it the wrong way. I used to work at a part-time job. I worked in a restaurant here in Japan. One day, my kohai, I'm senpai, he's kohai. He's newer, he's younger at the job. He comes up to me and goes, Jimmy, you're American, so in America, they don't use anything like keigo, right? Which is like honorific, really respectful Japanese. And I was like, not really. And he was like, would it make you more comfortable if I didn't use keigo toward you? Because usually he would, because I'm above him, he's below me. So he would use the respectful Japanese, and then I don't have to use respectful Japanese to him because he's below me. I know that sounds kind of fucked up if you're like a Westerner and you don't know much about Japanese culture, but that's how things are here. And I remember thinking, well, my American mindset is, I don't give a fuck what you do. Like, you don't have to think about stuff like that. And I remember thinking, like, when I told him this, right before I responded too, I was like thinking in my head, like, I'm about to blow this dude's mind. I was like, yo, get this. You don't have to use keigo toward me, but if you want to, go ahead. Whatever makes you more comfortable. Just be free, brother. That's basically what I told him. And I remember he was sitting there like all troubled, scratching his head, looking around. And then he came up to me again. He's like, but please tell me which one would you prefer that I use? And I was like, that's the thing. I don't care. Like, I remember thinking I was doing this guy a favor. You don't have to use keigo. I don't care if you want to use keigo, you can. Just relax, bro. Just be free. And it seemed like that made him more frustrated than me just giving him an answer. This is a perfect example of the American mindset, or the Western mindset, thinking you're helping someone out in Japan when you're actually just making things worse for them. In Japan, they love rules. They love going by the book. They love doing what they are told. You might come out here from the West thinking, oh, check this out, dude. I'm going to be so cool. Japanese people are going to love me. I'm going to show them this little thing called freedom. That doesn't always make them feel better. That doesn't always make them feel comfortable. Another story. I have a close Japanese friend, and one day we were just hanging out, having random conversations, and I asked her, if you had $1 million, if you just won the lottery, what's the first thing you would do with it? I actually don't even remember what her answer was, but I remember she asked me, and I was like, man, well, first of all, I would buy cars or houses for like all my friends and family. I would buy things for people. And she was all confused. And I was like, how is that not the obvious answer? And I remember her saying, you have to be very careful when doing something like that. Because if you buy a house for someone, if you buy a car for someone, even if it's your family, you could put someone into a state of depression that they might never be able to crawl out of. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? And she was like, in Japan, we always return something. When we get a gift, we always give something back. If you buy someone a really expensive house, a really expensive car, that might be a gift that they can never repay you for. And then they might get depressed and even do worse things because they can't repay you for that. And now they're living with this burden on them. And I remember thinking, whoa, our mindsets are so different. Another example, I was at the gym yesterday, and there was this woman talking to this other woman. I was listening to their conversation. I was eavesdropping, yes. Kind of feel, I'm only doing it for listening practice, guys. I'm not actually always eavesdropping on people, but now that I speak Japanese to a decent level, I feel like I have the right to eavesdrop a little bit and also use it as listening practice. But I was on the pec fly machine, I think I was doing, and I heard this girl say something about gaijin, which is like foreigner. So I turned my ears in and started listening, and she was talking about how at her job there were like 1 or 2 foreigners that recently got hired. She works at some company, some office job, and she was talking about how she and a couple of her coworkers are upset right now because they hired these foreigners, and the foreigners keep going home at 5 p.m. when they're like scheduled to leave. And I remember thinking, like, back in the day, I've heard foreigners talk about like Japanese work culture, it sucks. They work until 7, till 8 p.m., sometimes unpaid, just because they're afraid that like if you're the first one to leave, people are going to think you're lazy. Your boss might not want to give you a promotion. People are going to look down on you. Anyways, this girl was going off saying, like, these foreigners just like don't understand how we do it here. The reason that things work so well in Japan, the reason that everything is so efficient, the reason that Japan is such a nice place to live is because we stay until 7, 8 p.m., sometimes unpaid, working overtime, not leaving the office when we're scheduled to leave. She had a lot of pride about how Japanese people do this overtime work. Maybe these foreigners at this woman's job thought they were showing the poor Japanese people how to live better. In reality, she and these other people at her job, maybe not everyone, they took pride in staying later. And that's exactly the mentality that keeps people into doing that. And these foreigners, including myself for a long time, had this idea of like, man, Japan is so great, but they have these unfortunate circumstances where people have to stay later to work and people are expected to do blank and do blank. And then you think about, what's the reason that they have these expectations anyway? Like, where are they coming from? Are they coming from some type of dark, shadowy figure up in the clouds? Where is this coming from? Oh yeah, it's just coming from Japanese people. When you say like, oh, Japanese society has this idea of blank, it's like, what is Japanese society? It's just Japanese people. That's kind of how they do things here. And that's how, maybe not everyone wants to do it, but that's how most of the people are comfortable doing things. That's what they're used to. And just because you show someone something different that might be good, that might be seen as virtuous in your culture, doesn't mean that it's something that Japanese people want to do. Even if at first glance they say, oh, that's so nice. Yeah, they're always going to say that in Japan. They also communicate differently. Newsflash. When I first came to Japan, every single time I met with my Japanese friends, we would do this like little like head nod thing. We never did any type of handshake. You know, if you're in America, if you're from the States, people are always doing a handshake. You maybe hug your friends. If you're from Europe, I'm pretty sure you hug and kiss and do all of that as well. I usually hug my friends, girl or guy. And I remember thinking, man, this is so uncomfortable. Every time I see my Japanese friends, we just do like a little head nod or something like that. Like we don't like high five or do anything. And I remember thinking like, don't you want to just be more relaxed? Just be cool with it? And I tried to hug a few of my Japanese friends. And every time that I did, they were just like, ugh, and they got so uncomfortable and red in the face. And then I even like explained to them after, which is like looking back, it's so cringe. So cringe. But a few of them I even explained to it, like, yo, like in America, like we just do like a little bro hug, or like, yeah, like this and then that, or we do a hug. Every single time I tried to explain that to one of my friends, they're like, oh, like, that's okay, but like, I prefer to just do it how we do it. Once again, classic example of me thinking that I was introducing this thing to Japan, that this poor Japan, they can't help themselves, they wish they could be like the rest of the world, they wish they could be more relaxed, but they just can't. We just need to show them what to do. Odds are they don't want to do it. And the reason that they are this way is because they are the people that make up Japanese society. They are the people that make these traditions. They are the people that live like this. Anyways, just something to think about before you come out to Japan and say that you're going to change things and you're just going to fix the imperfections in Japanese society, bro. Check out the description for all of my links. Peace out.